another hot one. So what are we doing today? I want to know, have you ever been to a campground, get all set up, get power plugged in, you go inside, start the front AC, no problem. Then you come in, hit the back AC, and you hear this. Made a liar of me. So what's actually happening is the back fan motor. Have you ever heard this noise before? Here it is. And it starts. It means the bearings are starting to seize on the fan motor. Now, granted, this is a 2008 coach. This is the original air conditioners in this. We've been using this a lot. We have close to 90,000 miles on it. Using the AC all the time, also running the generator all the time. So they've held up extremely long time on the original fan motors. I already replaced the one in the front. Now it's time to replace the one in the back and do some other miscellaneous items here because we are in the middle of hurricane season and we always like to make sure that the coach is ready to go in case we need to evacuate. So stay tuned and see how we replace this fan motor and do some other maintenance items.
Hi there, welcome to our channel, Poking Adventure. Join me and my wife Debbie along with our 3 children, Brandon, Shannon, and Dylan as we talk about our family adventures, provide some tips and hacks that we learned along the way. And if you like what you see, please remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment. We would definitely appreciate your feedback. Thank you for watching.
Of course, typical me, right? If I'm gonna do something like this, I gotta wait till the heat of the day to do it. I can't do it when it's cool out. That'd be crazy. I said, but you gotta do what you gotta do. But one of the things I did get done, let me swing around this way, make everybody seasick. I finally got a map up. So as we are thinking about full timing, we see all these maps where you've been. And after we put the map up, found out we've been to 19 states with the kids in this RV. And so many great memories and fun times we've had along the way. It's unbelievable. So the goal is for my wife and I to start filling in the rest of these states. As with any maintenance item you do on your RV, the most important part is, at least it is to me, you get the right part. So there are many different types of AC manufacturers, different models, etc. Matter of fact, ours is a kind of a rare one. There are Series 8000. They were popular back in 2007, 2008, a little before that. It's part of the Mach series, but it's an 8000 series. So they use a different motor than the standards you can find on Amazon, etc. So make sure you're ordering the right motor that fits your rig. And what you're looking for, of course, is that one, it fits your model. We'll see the model later on or lower down in the description. But it's very important that this shaft, right? This is the shaft that runs your squirrel cage, so to speak, to blow the air through your rig. And this shaft is the fan that pulls the air through the condenser, right? So these are the right length, the right size, and also very important, you have the right mounting bolts. So you don't want to try to modify your AC to get a motor to fit. Now what's interesting about this is, I always like to carry extra capacitors, and many of these kits now come with capacitors. So earlier I made a video about a leveling system, and we had 2 capacitors go out. And I usually carry 2 in the rig. So guess what? I've now replaced, this is the second AC motor I've had to replace this summer. Now, like I said before, this is a 2008 Winnebago, so we've used the heck out of it since 2008. And these will be the second motors, but I replaced the front AC in July motor, and now it's time to do the rear AC motor. And guess what? I'm back to 2 extra capacitors again in my storage bay for any type of an issue that could occur down the road. We're ready to take this up on the roof and get to it. Now, it's very important before you start any projects that involve electricity is you turn off the breakers. So we've got 2 AC breakers I can turn off right here. Look at that, both AC breakers are off, but actually to be safe, I'm just going to unplug the rigs. And if you can do that, that's the route I would go. You still have to discharge the capacitor, but if you go ahead and shut the power down, if you don't need it in the rig, do that. As you can see, I have a step stool here because I actually have the back jacks down to level out the rig. Our driveway slopes down, so I need to do that. Something else to think about safety-wise, these ladders, a lot of injuries occur on these ladders in the back of RVs. Taking tools up. Now you can put it in a bucket, lean over the side, pull up with a rope, etc. What I always do, I carry a bag like this. Put all the tools in there, matter of fact, using the fan motors in here. And that way I can use both hands on the ladder instead of trying to hold tools in one hand as you're climbing up the ladder. So when I go up, I can use both hands like this all the way to the top. And usually I get all the way on the roof before you try to do that. Because sometimes you try to take it off right here. I'll do it right, for example, and weight can pull you over. I suggest you get all the way up on the roof before you do that, unlike what I just did there. The goal today is to replace this motor in the rear AC. I'm going to go through the basics and show you the process and how easy it is to do this. This is something that could save you a lot of money if you have some minimal skills as far as it comes to mechanics and electric. You don't need to be an expert to do this, and believe me, as a warning, if you don't feel comfortable doing this, you don't feel comfortable getting up on a roof, you're not comfortable with the AC, you're not comfortable with electricity, hire a professional to do this. But those of you that are comfortable, easy process can save you a lot of money, especially in today's economy. That definitely works out well. Now, first thing you do, of course, you need to get this cover off. A little side note, while I'm up here, and you should do the same thing. Every time you come up on the roof, I always do a once over, check all the seams, check all the sealant, make sure there's no cracks, the holes, etc. because the last thing you want is a leak in your roof. And you see this, we've had this for many, many years and still doing pretty well. So let's get this cover off. 4 screws on top, pretty easy to do. Oops. By the way, those of you who don't know this, a new Ryobis and almost all cordless drills, there's a lock feature which I did not use. You get it tight, turn it back this way till it clicks. Now the bit's locked in, it won't come out like you just saw that. Learned that on YouTube too, imagine that. So. Very important step. I'm gonna put these in this bag right here because last thing we do is want them roll off the RV roof. The truck goes flying by. You want them rolling off the RV roof onto the ground, and you have to go find them. And it's a real problem if you're in grass or in a site where it's grass, dirt, and stuff, you might never find the screws. So put them in the bag, something to keep them safe. Okay, now the trick is getting this off, right? Sometimes I'll see people on YouTube take a screwdriver and they'll separate these 2 sections to try to get this cover off. Because if they try to pick up on the back, it won't come off very easily, and they're worried about bending the entire frame. The trick is there's 3 tabs in the front of these units, right? So you push forward until you lift it up over those tabs, and I'll put a picture of the tabs right here in the video. You can see what it looks like. Once you come over those tabs, right, lift straight up, it comes right off. So let's get this over here so it doesn't go flying to the ground. That's all to it. Now you get to your AC unit and start working on the motor or cleaning it or doing your maintenance, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about trying to separate those tabs, especially if you have an older cover and stuff. You separate, you break a tab off. Next time you're buying $100 and some tab, $100 some AC cover. Something when all I had to do is just push forward, get over the 3 tabs you see here in the front, lift straight up. So here we are looking inside the AC unit. One way you can check your fan to see if it has an issue is spin it. See, it doesn't freely spin. See how it comes to a stop immediately? That means these sealed bearings here in the middle and the front are going bad. In other words, you can't oil them. You can try to get some penetrating oil in there. Usually doesn't work. I've done that a couple of times. It's just time to replace this. So if you spin your fan blade, it does not spin freely. It comes to an immediate stop. Time to replace the motor. One thing I've learned, being around RVs for many, many years, like going all the way back to the 70s, matter of fact, one of the first RVs I helped a neighbor work on was a 70s era GMC Class A. Back in the day when I was in high school, I thought that was the coolest RV in the world. I mean, it was futuristic design, had a big windshield. It wasn't a box like the Winnebago and the Allegros were back in the day. It was like the future. I will say I helped them replace an AC unit neighbor, and it was a pain. With that said, that gentleman RV'd for many years and taught me a lot of tricks and tips along the way. The trick to sometimes when you replace these fans, what you taught me, is that many times people, what they do, they'll measure the distance from the hub to the collar here on your fan. Because you see how this fan does not go all the way inside the shroud, part of it sticking out. So they'll come in with a tape measure between here to the collar, it's 5 1/4. The challenge is, some of these motors, especially if you buy ones that are designed for a unit, but they've condensed the size of the motor, they changed the outside cap so the hub is different, right, where the bearing is. So the distance is different, and you might measure that and actually have the fan in the wrong position. This comes from the factory in the right position. You want part of the fan sticking out, and that's the whole goal. So the hack that he taught me was a wax pencil, okay? What you do is you get the edge of the shroud right here, take your pencil, I'm just gonna mark on the fan, right there. So when I put the new one back on, or the new motor, and put the fan back on, I'm aligning these red marks up with the edge of this housing right here, or this shroud. Now I know that that fan is in the correct position to move the air efficiently through the unit. So get yourself a wax pencil. Like I said, so this is a 2008 Winnebago. Probably this unit was built in 2007. This fan has not been off of this shaft since 2007. So with that said, get yourself some nut blaster, some penetrating oil, and you go ahead and spray that right on the collar bolt, right? And let that soak. Give it some time to work. What I usually do then, get that on there, and I start working on the wiring. What I need to do is take this panel off over here. I'll show you in the video. First thing I need to do is discharge the capacitor. Even though I told you before that our power is off for the unit, those capacitors hold the charge. That's what gets your motor going, your compressor going, etc. Gives you that jolt. You can get zapped pretty good, and it can be fatal, unfortunately, especially if you fall backwards off here if you get zapped. So what you need to do is you need to discharge the capacitor. A couple ways you can do that. Some people can do a single screwdriver, go across the two tabs, short that way, or I have a couple of picks or screwdrivers. Put one on one tab, touch like this, touch the two together, like this, on the two tabs, and it'll discharge your capacitor. It's always good also to have a little meter with you to double check that because you don't want any surprises. Okay, this part here is pretty simple. You have to get this access panel off. So just a few screws to hold it on there. What I usually do is put them right here inside this tray so you don't lose them on the ground. Just pull down and it comes right off. And inside here is your capacitors, your run units, etc. And there's usually a simple screw. What you're gonna do is get your screwdriver in there and take it out. That releases the strap and you're good to go. And what I do is I pull all this out. Okay. These are the two main ones that I need to worry about for rewiring at the present time. Actually don't need to pull this one out because I'm going to tighten the wiring. Capacitor is very important right here. You can see it's a brand new one. I'm going to go ahead and discharge this and get to work on the fan motor. Okay, so now it's time to get this blade off. It's been soaking for a while here. It's a 5/32 Allen wrench for this particular unit. Get in here and you go turn this loose now. Okay, got the fan off. What I'm going to do is move it to the side like this and leave it in there. There's no way you can get this fan out with this shaft here, so leave it in there. That's why you don't damage your fins inside here. What you're going to do now, remove the 5 screws to hold the mounting plate for the motor. You have plenty of room to move the motor this way, move the shaft in here. Be careful you don't puncture through your aluminum coil back here, or your condenser, and be able to work your squirrel cage out and get it out of there. So there's 5 screws and there's a mounting bracket right here you need to take off. Okay, you see the motor's out. I cut the wires off. They're easy to reattach later on. If you notice that I left a lot inside here. This way I can trace it back, and actually I'll feed the new wires through following the same wiring, and I'll connect them inside here so there'll be no connections outside in the environment. Now, here's your squirrel cage, right? This is the part that circulates the air through your unit, right? The cold air. With that said, there's also a distance you need to maintain here so you don't jam it against your coil inside. Here, you can use a tape measure, or I do use a tape measure. I'll measure right here. See, it is 1 1/8. So 1 1/8, and this is where wax pencil comes in. I'll put 1 1/8 right here. Because when you approach 60, you can't remember anything. Write it down right there so I know the distance to make sure I put this in. Now what I'll do is I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to take it inside and clean it. I mean, I try to clean it when I do the maintenance. There is some dust in here, if you can see. There's some dust which happens. I mean, we're always at rodeos, etc. I'm gonna go through here and clean this with water, let it dry, and I'll put it on the new motor. Now, if you see here, there's this rubber dampening pad right here. You can reuse this. You have to carefully peel it off. You go really slow, you can peel this off to get to the screws you need to get this motor off. There's 4, I believe, you need to take off you get the motor off this plate. And you put the new motor on, attach it, and this pushes back down again. You don't want to take it all the way off, just enough where you can get to the 4 nuts on this other side here and put your new motor on. So keep that in mind. I should have filmed cleaning this. Now I try to clean this at least once or twice a year from inside. Take a brush and go through there and clean this out. But I took this took it inside, put it in the sink with some soapy water and a brush and cleaned it out, and the water was absolutely black. So this would probably make it nice and refreshing inside the bedroom part of the RV. Maybe you do this maybe every couple of years, go through here and thoroughly clean this squirrel cage out. You can see I peeled this back, taking out these 4 nuts. Now while you have this index, you notice the mounting bolt right there, that goes on the bracket on the bottom, put it on the top. So when I put the motor in, I'm gonna leave this exactly the same. I'm gonna put the new motor in, make sure that lines up bolt on top in this way. So make sure you do that exactly the same way each time and everything will line up correctly. Here you can see the new motor is installed. You get some little spray adhesive downstairs and put it on there, and the bolts line up perfectly. So we're good to go. Coming down the home stretch, I had to take a little break. Had to get some more spray adhesive. Unfortunately, for some odd reason, the one I had in the garage that's only 15 years old didn't work. Imagine that. So that's to make sure that the matting on the back side of this panel right here is sticking. You don't want it to be sucked into your squirrel cage. So don't put a lot on there, just enough to keep it tacky. And I got the type that's repositionable. That's the type to use. Now, the last thing you need to do on this part is make sure this fan's in the right place. You see how it moves back and forth. I'm gonna line up the red marks. Remember I told you about that earlier in the video. Make sure that the marks are ready to go. They're right where they need to be. I need to tighten this Allen wrench right here, 5/32. Get this thing wired and test it out. I do like that shiny motor, but I think it looks nice. Looking good. One thing I forgot, before I get to wiring this motor here, earlier in the video, I showed you an easy way to check to see if you're having some issues with your fan motor besides the noise and slow starts, is to actually spin the fan, right? Remember I spun the fan. Show the video right now. You can see how I'm trying to spin this fan. It's coming to immediate stop. Right here, you see that? Okay. New motor's installed. I don't have it wired yet. Fan is now tightened up. Let's go ahead and spin this. Look how it spins. That's what you're looking for. That shows that this motor is loose, it's ready to go, and this makes me happy. There you go. Cold air is always good, right? Okay, now I'm getting to the wiring part. As you see here, decided to go with a butt connector. I'll do a close-up right here showing what a butt connector looks like. What you don't want to use is standard electrical wire nuts. This thing's vibrating all the time going down the road. Wire nuts always come loose. So use a butt connector, or you can use a closed-in connector. I'll show you a close-up of one of those here. Right here is a video of the close-up of the closed-in connector. These are great if the wires are different sizes. These are pretty close, so the blue would work for these 2 wires here. What I use is a butt connector, and then I put heat shrink tube over it, just like this. Make sure it's centered. We do a close-up of that to show what it looks like. Getting that center right here. Use a lighter and get this shrink down. And do this the same to all your connections. Now, something that's very important that you remember to do is get all your capacitors bundled back together and get the strap on. You don't want these flopping around inside your unit so you touch something and cause electrical short or an issue. So make sure you get the right strap on there, get them all bundled together and tight so they're not flopping around. You see the screw right there and the strap. They're all ready to go. Look at that. It's even running quieter than it was in the past. So both units are up and running, and this is looking good. You notice I put a couple of cable ties on there to keep the wires together. I also want to give yourself a little bit of a loop here. You don't want to bring them tight so they get pinched on the bottom of the motor. And make sure you're sealed, no water can get in. We are good to go. Time to button this thing up. Well, it's done. We hope you found this video informative and hopefully educational if you need to replace the fan motor in your Coleman air conditioning unit in your RV. Now this happens to be a Coleman Mach 3 8000 series, but the procedure is very similar for the other Coleman air conditioners. So you saw it running up top when I was up there before I put the cover on. Double check down here, turn it on. So how fast that started right away. Means no resistance in those bearings that you're looking for. Great things. I also check the fan speed. It's on high. I'm gonna bring it down to low. Yep, both speeds are working. Good stuff. Interesting they found about this. When the fan motors are starting to go, you'll start noticing an increased draw on amperage in your meter. I noticed we're running about 21 amps with both units running. And take a look at this. Running 18 since I replaced both fan motors. That's huge. Saving 3-4 amps. Sometimes it got to 22. That's good stuff. If you like what you saw, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. I know this is not our normal content, but I do all my own maintenance on the RV, unless it's something I really can't handle, like a drivetrain or something like that. But I do all my own maintenance, so there will be times I will put videos together like this. But I hope you found this entertainment. As I said, give us a thumbs up, and we hope to see you out on the road.